Welcome to our Payment Processing Simplified tutorial. My name is Veera Desale, and today we'll be discussing how exactly payment processing works step by step. As we all know, payment processing is critical to any business operation. Payment processing is a system that enables businesses to accept payments from their customers. It involves the transfer of funds from a customer's account to the merchant's account in exchange for goods or services. In this presentation, we will understand how payment processing works, how money moves from the customer's account to the merchant's account, and how various entities work together to make payments work. So sit back, relax, and let's dive into the world of payment processing. The process begins with a customer visiting a physical store or online platform to purchase a product or service. After selecting the desired item, the customer proceeds to make the payment by providing their credit or debit card details or any other form of digital payment. When the customer swipes the card or clicks the pay button online, the payment process is initiated. In a physical store, a payment system known as the point of sale is used by merchants to process transactions when a customer swipes their card. The payment information is then sent to a payment gateway, which is a software application responsible for verifying the legitimacy of the customer and their payment information. The payment gateway performs fraud checks and validates that the payment card is legitimate and that the payment details provided are accurate. After the payment gateway has validated the payment information, it forwards to the acquiring bank or acquiring bank processor, which acts on behalf of the acquiring bank. The acquiring bank or processor then conducts additional fraud checks to verify the accuracy of the payment information. The acquiring bank is where the merchant has their bank account, and the acquiring processor is a third-party company that carries out processing functions on behalf of the acquiring bank. The acquiring bank or processor then sends a payment to card networks such as Visa or MasterCard. These card networks perform crucial tasks in the payment processing chain, such as validating the legitimacy of the customer and ensuring the accuracy of all payment data. Once the payment networks have verified the payment details, they send an authorization request to the issuing bank, which is a bank that provided the customer with their credit or debit card. In addition to facilitating the movement of payments between banks, payment networks like Visa and MasterCard also establish and enforce the standards and regulations for payment processing. They ensure that all parties involved in a transaction adhere to the same guidelines and best practices. Furthermore, payment networks provide dispute resolution services, which assist in resolving disputes between customers, merchants, and banks. After the payment networks such as Visa or MasterCard have verified the payment information, they send an authorization request to the issuing bank. The purpose of the authorization request is to verify whether the customer has sufficient funds to complete the payment. The issuing bank reviews the request and either approves or declines the payment based on the available balance in the customer's account. The issuing bank is a bank that provided the customer with a credit or debit card and where the customer has a credit or debit card account. Once the issuing bank receives the authorization request from the card network, it reviews the customer's account to confirm whether they have enough funds to complete the payment. If the available balance is sufficient, the issuing bank authorizes the payment. Authorization in this context means that the issuing bank has confirmed that the customer has enough funds to complete the payment. This confirmation allows the payment to proceed, and the funds are transferred from the customer's account to the merchant's account. After the issuing bank has authorized the payment, the card network sends the authorization to the acquiring bank or processor. The authorization confirms that the payment has been approved, and the acquiring bank can tell the merchant gateway to go ahead with the sale. The acquiring bank or processor receives the authorization and verifies that it matches the original payment request. If the authorization is valid, the acquiring bank or processor informs the merchant gateway system with approval. The gateway system then verifies that the payment approval matches the original payment request, and then informs the merchant system that the payment is approved and that the merchant can go ahead with the sale. Upon receiving payment approval, the merchant then releases the product to the customer. Once the acquiring bank or processor has received the payment authorization from the issuing bank, they may request that the card network perform a capture. A capture is a temporary hold on the funds from the customer's account until the transaction is complete. When the capture request is made, the card network places a hold on the funds, ensuring that they are available to complete the payment. This hold is released once the transaction is complete, and the funds are transferred from the customer's account to the merchant's account. After the acquiring bank or processor has received the payment authorization from the issuing bank, they compile all the authorized payment data and send it to the card network. The acquiring bank then requests a settlement from the card network, which is essentially a request to receive payment for the authorized transactions. Typically, at the end of each day, the acquiring bank sends all the authorized payments to the card network and requests settlement. After the acquiring bank has requested settlement from the card network calculates all the authorized payments and associated fees. The card network then instructs each issuing bank to settle their portion of the payment. This instruction is a request for the issuing bank to transfer the appropriate amount of money to the acquiring bank, so that the merchant can be paid for the goods or services they have sold. Once the issuing bank has settled the payment, the funds are transferred to the acquiring bank's account. The acquiring bank then releases the funds to the merchant's account, completing the payment process. Upon receiving instructions from the card network, the issuing bank initiates the transfer of funds to the acquiring bank. The issuing bank removes a specified amount of money from the customer's account and sends it to the acquiring bank. Once the acquiring bank receives the funds from the issuing bank, they deposit the money into the merchant's account. This means that the merchant is now paid for the products or services they have sold. The payment process is now complete, and the customer's account reflects the deduction of the payment amount. Once the funds have been deposited into the merchant's account, the payment process is complete. The merchant has now received payment for the product or service they sold, and the customer has received the product or service they wanted to buy. It is worth noting that this entire payment process, from the initial payment authorization request to the final settlement of funds, can occur in a matter of seconds. This is made possible by the advanced technology and complex infrastructure that underpins the payment processing industry. Thank you for watching this tutorial on payment processing. I hope this presentation helped provide a better understanding of the complex process that occurs behind the scenes every time a payment is made. If you have any further questions or would like to learn more about payment processing, please feel free to ask in the comments section.